Hi, I am Stanislav, founder of Artwheel Studio, and I'm here today in the Garden of the Gods in Colorado to paint a little watercolor landscape. Watch this video to see how I do it and find out more about our watercolor and plein air classes at the end of the video. Today's sketch is a quick one. I only spend about an hour here, so my goal is to convey the main things that I see, the composition and the color. We have a really nice contrast between the sun-splashed rock in the foreground and the bigger shadowed rock in the background. I want to show that, also using the sky and some of the greenery to help with the contrast. For painting, I completed a quick pencil sketch. It is so light that you can barely see it, and that's very important for watercolors. They're transparent and my lines will show through if I press my pencil too hard. So I've kept my sketch light and will move on to painting as quickly as I can. I start painting with the sky. This is a good anchor for my future colors, and I want to get the negative space finished here quickly so I can better refine the rocks. Next, I work on the sunlit rock, working in the yellows and oranges that I see, paying close attention to the change of colors that happens as the plane of the rock turns away from the sun. I immediately hint at its three-dimensionality by working my oranges wet into wet on the yellow. And I'm looking at the rock as a large object, focusing less on the details right now and more on conveying its larger form. I want to work large to small, and I'll talk a bit more about why shortly. Next, I introduce a red and burnt sienna mix for the shaded rock, laying out the contrast between the foreground and the background elements. These colors are for the underlayer to help guide future colors and details and to create that immediate contrast that I want to capture. Since this is an outdoor sketch and I am limited in time, I quickly move on to adding smaller blocks of shadow and light. I define the negative spaces of the light with the positive blocking of the shadows, carefully but quickly working through each edge and transition that I see. To help identify the blocking, I look for shapes within the rocks and give them names as I work, helping me to be more accurate in representing each little shadow and detail. Since nature is organic and, in a way, quite abstract for our minds to comprehend in its detail, this is an important step in helping me translate what I see onto the paper. Here I've already added some of the greenery in the midground, helping me further separate foreground from background. As I start putting in another layer of darker blocking, I bring in a new set of colors for my shadows, greens, blues, and purples, which will complement the existing oranges and browns nicely and help bring my rocks to life. These new colors are a combination of what I am seeing and what makes sense from my knowledge of color theory. I want to make my subject pop while also learning from its nature. For example, the shaded rock gets a greener shadow and more forest hues, a desaturated green to harmonize with the greenery that's in the midground, whereas the shadows that I put on the sunlit rock will be a combination of browns and burnt siennas, connecting those shadows to the massing of the background. I am working from large to small to help myself organize my blocking and my composition. With each smaller block of shadow that I add within previous blocks, I define the texture of the rock more and more, and the detail of how its faces lean into or away from the sun. As I work from large to small, my blocks get so small that they become fine lines or detail on the rock, crevices, holes, indentations. I keep to this method in all of my work, and though I'm skipping a few steps here due to time, it still helps the flow of my plein air piece. As I continue working on my piece, I define more details. My goal is to show a bit less local contrast on the background elements than on the foreground. This will help place a starting focal point on the sunlit rock and finish the composition with the shaded rock, letting my viewer move across the painting. I want to prioritize the most important part of my painting for my viewer and avoid hitting them with all the details that I observe all at once. So I add significantly more defined and contrasting elements on the sunlit rock and hint at the same in the background. To help convey the scale of the rocks, I add a few of the people I've seen walking around while I've been working. I think it's easy to observe as I am painting this little plein air that when we paint or draw, both sides of our brain are engaged, the logical left and the imaginative right. I'm being creative and observing and painting what I see here in the Garden of the Gods, conveying the colors, contrast, and differentiation between background and foreground. But I'm also thinking through how all of that works. I'm composing and I'm constructing. And that's the best part. Drawing and painting are more skills than talents. That means that, with enough time and practice, anybody can learn to create art and convey the world that they see. At our studio, we see it every day. Kids who thought they couldn't draw create stunning pieces after just a few weeks. It's not about being born with talent, it's about giving your brain the chance to grow through art. Thank you for watching this video to the end. If you enjoyed what you saw, subscribe to our channel. And if you would like to learn to paint and get the opportunity to apply to top universities to get scholarships in the process, visit our art studio in Roanoke, Texas, go to our website, or give us a call. We look forward to seeing you.